The lights hit harder than usual that morning, brighter, sharper, almost like the stage itself knew something was about to break. No one expected this. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Talk Battles, hit that like button, and drop a comment because what you're about to witness, people are still arguing about it. The cameras roll. The iconic set of The View hums with its usual polished energy. The audience claps, warm and welcoming. And then he walks in Zac Efron, smiling, composed, carrying that familiar Hollywood charm that made him a global icon. But today, something feels different. Across the table sits Joy Behar. Calm, observant, a veteran of moments like these. She's seen actors stumble, politicians sweat, and celebrities unravel. But even she doesn't know what's coming. The conversation begins gently. Joy leans forward, her tone light but probing. So Zac, you've been busy. New projects, new direction. It feels like you're stepping into a different phase of your career. Zac nods, offering a practiced smile. Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to choose roles that mean something now, stories that challenge me, you know? There's applause. The audience loves it. This is the Zac they know, thoughtful, evolving, grounded. Joy presses on. And your latest film, it's darker, more intense than what we're used to seeing from you. Was that a risk? A pause. Just a second too long. Zac shifts in his seat. It wasn't a risk. It was necessary. Something changes. The air tightens. Joy notices it immediately. Her eyes sharpen just slightly. She smiles, but now there's curiosity behind it. Necessary, she repeats. Or was it an attempt to break away from the image people still associate with you? The audience murmurs. There it is. The unspoken elephant in the room. The past. Zac exhales slowly. I've been trying to break away for years. Joy tilts her head. But do you think the audience has let you? That question lands harder than anyone expected. Zac's smile fades. Not completely, but enough for the cameras to catch it. Honestly, he says, his voice lower now. Sometimes it feels like no matter what I do, people still see me as who I was 10 years ago. The audience goes quiet. Joy doesn't back off. Well, isn't that part of the job? She asks. You build a brand, people connect to it. And then you expect them to just forget it. There's a ripple through the crowd. This isn't playful anymore. Zac leans forward, elbows on the table. I don't expect them to forget. I expect them to grow with me. Silence. The kind of silence that feels loud. Joy raises an eyebrow. But have you given them a reason to? And just like that, the spark becomes a flame. Zac's jaw tightens. I've spent years pushing myself, physically, mentally, taking roles that scare me, that challenge me, and somehow it's still not enough? Joy responds instantly. I'm asking the question the audience is thinking. The tension spikes. Zac shakes his head slightly, almost in disbelief. No, you're asking the question people keep repeating without actually paying attention. A few gasps echo across the studio. The co-hosts glance at each other. This is no longer routine television. This is something raw, something unscripted. Joy leans in now, her tone firmer. So what are we missing, Zac? And that's when it happens. Something in him shifts completely. You're missing the part where I'm human, he says, his voice steady but charged. Where I've gone through things people don't see. Where I've had to rebuild myself, not just as an actor, but as a person. The audience is frozen. Joy pauses. For the first time, she doesn't immediately respond. But then, quietly, carefully, she asks, Are you saying the industry didn't support you? Zac lets out a short, almost humorless laugh. I'm saying the industry loves you when you're easy to define. A murmur spreads. And when you try to change? Joy asks. Zac looks straight at her. They resist it. That line hits like a shockwave. The energy in the room is completely different now. Heavier, more intense, almost electric. Joy crosses her arms slightly. Or maybe, she counters, they just need to be convinced. Zac doesn't blink. I don't think it's my job to convince people to see me differently. I think it's their job to be open enough to notice. The audience reacts, some clapping, some whispering, some just staring. This isn't an interview anymore. This is a confrontation. The cameras zoom in. Every expression matters now. Every breath, every pause, every flicker of emotion is amplified. Joy studies him closely. You sound frustrated. Zac nods. I am. A beat. And maybe, he continues, I'm tired of pretending I'm not. That confession hangs in the air like a storm cloud. The kind you know is about to break, but you don't know how hard. One of the co-hosts shifts in her seat, clearly uncomfortable. The producers backstage are already signaling. This is going off script fast. But neither Zac nor Joy is stopping. Joy leans forward one more time. Then let's be honest, she says. Do you think Hollywood put you in a box, or did you step into it willingly? And just like that, the temperature drops. Zac's expression changes completely. Not defensive. Not angry. Something deeper. More personal. You really want to go there? He asks quietly. Joy doesn't hesitate. I think we're already there. The audience holds its breath. Because now there's no turning back. And what comes next? No one in that studio was prepared for it. The silence doesn't break, it stretches. Not the comfortable kind, the kind that presses against your chest, makes you aware of every breath in the room. Zac Efron leans back slightly, eyes still locked on Joy Behar. For a brief moment, it feels like the cameras don't even exist anymore. Like this has become something far more personal than television. A faint cough echoes from somewhere in the audience, but no one dares to speak. Zac exhales. Slow. Controlled. You want to know if I stepped into that box willingly? He repeats, his voice quieter now, but sharper. I was 18. The words hit differently. The energy shifts, not explosive this time, but heavy, grounded in something real. I didn't understand the machine, he continues. I didn't understand how quickly people decide who you are, and how hard it is to undo that. Joy listens, her expression unreadable, but her posture has changed. Less confrontational. More attentive. But you benefited from it, she says carefully. Fame, recognition, success that didn't come with resistance. Zac nods almost immediately. Of course I did. I'm not denying that. He pauses, then adds, but benefiting from something doesn't mean you're not also trapped by it. A murmur ripples through the audience. One of the co-hosts shifts forward, as if considering stepping in, but stops. Joy tilts her head slightly. Trapped is a strong word. Zac's eyes flicker for a second. Just a second, but long enough to reveal something deeper beneath the surface. You ever feel like people are talking to a version of you that doesn't exist anymore? He asks. Joy doesn't answer right away. Zac continues. Like, they're smiling at you, praising you, criticizing you, but it's not you. It's this image they built in their heads years ago. The room goes still again. He leans forward now, his voice gaining intensity. I've done everything I can to evolve. Different roles, different risks, different parts of myself. And yet, every conversation somehow circles back to who I used to be. Joy finally responds. Because that's who people connected with, she says. That version of you meant something to them. Zac nods slowly. I get that, he says. I really do. But what about who I am now? Doesn't that deserve the same chance? There's a flicker of applause, but it's hesitant, uncertain. Joy's tone softens slightly. It does, she admits. But growth isn't just about changing yourself. It's about bringing people with you. Zac lets out a quiet breath. And what if they refuse to come? He asks. That question hangs there unanswered. For the first time, Joy looks momentarily caught off guard. But she recovers quickly. Then maybe you haven't shown them enough, she replies. And just like that, the tension spikes again. Zac shakes his head, a faint smile appearing, but it's not warm. It's tired. Or maybe, he says, they've already decided they don't want to see it. The audience reacts, this time louder. Some nodding, some whispering, some clearly taking sides. One of the co-hosts finally jumps in, her voice cautious. I think what Zac's saying is that there's a disconnect between how he sees himself and how the public sees him. Zac glances at her, grateful, but only briefly. Because Joy isn't letting go. But isn't that always the case? Joy presses. Every public figure deals with that. Zac turns back to her instantly. Not like this. The firmness in his voice cuts through everything. Joy raises an eyebrow. What makes your situation different? And there it is again, that edge. That push. Zac leans forward, his expression now completely serious. Because I had to grow up in front of everyone, he says. Every mistake, every phase, every version of me, it's all out there, frozen in time. The room quiets once more. And when you try to move on, he continues, people don't always let you. Joy studies him closely. But isn't that the price of fame? Zac doesn't hesitate this time. No, he says. It's the cost of people refusing to see you as anything more than entertainment. A collective inhale. That line lands hard. Even Joy pauses. The audience is no longer just watching. They're feeling it now. The shift is undeniable. Joy's voice lowers slightly. You sound like you resent it. Zac considers that for a moment. Then he nods. Sometimes, yeah. There's honesty in that admission that cuts deeper than any argument. But not the fans, he quickly adds. Never the fans. They gave me everything. Then who? Joy asks. Zac hesitates. And for the first time since this began, he looks unsure. Not defensive. Not frustrated. Just vulnerable. The system, he says finally. The expectations. The way people box you in and then criticize you for trying to break out. A few audience members clap, this time louder, more confident. Joy leans back slightly, absorbing his words. And what about accountability? She asks. You talk about the system, but don't you also have to take responsibility for the roles you chose, the image you built? Zac nods immediately. I do, he says. I own all of it. That phrase echoes. I'm owning all of it, he continues. The good, the bad, the mistakes, everything. But owning it doesn't mean I have to stay stuck in it. The intensity in his voice rises again. I've worked too hard to grow, to learn, to become something more, just to be reduced to who I was at the start. The audience applauds, this time louder, more unified. But Joy, she's not done. Then prove it, she says. The words cut through the applause like a blade. Zac's expression hardens. I have been, he replies. Not to everyone, Joy counters. The tension peaks again. Zac leans in, his voice now steady but burning underneath. I'm not here to win everyone over, he says. I'm here to be real. A pause. And if that's not enough for some people, he adds quietly, then maybe that says more about them than it does about me. The audience erupts, some clapping, some gasping, some visibly stunned. Even the co-hosts look shaken. Joy holds his gaze. For a moment, it feels like she might push even further. But instead, she does something unexpected. She smiles. Not sarcastically. Not dismissively. Genuinely. Well, she says, that's the most honest answer we've had all morning. The tension doesn't disappear, but it shifts. Softens just slightly. But beneath that surface, the storm is still there. Because this conversation isn't over. Not even close. And what comes next will take this from a heated exchange to something no one in that studio will ever forget. The applause fades, but the tension doesn't. It lingers, thick, unspoken, like something unfinished hanging in the air. Zac Efron sits still for a moment, his hands clasped together, eyes lowered just briefly as if he's replaying everything that's been said. Across from him, Joy Behar watches carefully, no longer pushing, but not retreating either. There's a shift now. Not explosive, but deeper, more dangerous. Because when the noise fades, what's left is truth. Joy leans forward again, her voice calmer, almost reflective. You know, she begins, this isn't the conversation people expected when you walked out here today. A faint ripple of laughter moves through the audience, but it quickly dies down. Zac looks up, a slight smirk crossing his face. Yeah, he admits. I had a feeling it might go this way. Joy raises an eyebrow. Oh, you came prepared for a fight. Zac shakes his head slowly. No, he says. I came prepared to be honest. That word hits differently now. Honest. It's no longer just a tone, it's a challenge. Joy nods slightly, acknowledging it. And honesty, she says, comes with consequences. Zac doesn't hesitate. I know. There's a pause. A long one. The kind where both sides are deciding how far they're willing to go. Then Joy asks the question no one in that room expected her to say out loud. Let me ask you something real, she says. Not as a host, just as someone who's watched this industry for a long time. Zac leans in slightly. Okay. Joy's eyes narrow just enough to signal this is different. Do you think, she says slowly, that part of your struggle to be taken seriously is because people don't believe you've earned that change yet? The audience reacts instantly, gasps, whispers, a few audible wow-s. Even the co-hosts stiffen. That wasn't just a question. That was a direct hit. Zac doesn't answer immediately. His jaw tightens. His fingers interlock, then release. For the first time since this began, he looks genuinely caught off guard. But only for a moment. Then he leans forward. And when he speaks, his voice is quieter than before, but heavier. What does earning it look like to you? He asks. Joy doesn't flinch. Consistency, she replies. Depth. Time. Reinvention that sticks. Zac nods slowly. I've given all of that, he says. Joy tilts her head. Have you, or have you started to? The tension spikes again. Zac exhales through his nose, a faint shake of his head following. That's the thing, he says. No matter how much I do, it always feels like people say, not yet. He looks out toward the audience now, not just Joy. How long does it take? He asks. How many years do I have to prove I'm not the same person I was before? Silence. No one answers. Because no one really can. Joy softens her tone, but not her stance. It takes as long as it takes, she says. Zac lets out a short laugh, but there's no humor in it. Exactly, he says. That's the part no one talks about. He leans back, running a hand through his hair, the frustration now visible, not explosive but simmering. There's no finish line, he continues. No moment where people go, okay, now we see you differently. It's just constant judgment. The audience is fully locked in now. No phones. No whispers. Just attention. Joy studies him carefully. But isn't that part of being in the public eye? She asks again. Zac turns back to her, this time more intense than before. Yes, he says. But that doesn't make it fair. That word fair hangs there. Joy leans in slightly. Fairness isn't guaranteed in this business, she says. Zac nods. I know, he replies. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. A small wave of applause rises, more thoughtful this time. Joy pauses, and then she shifts direction. Let's talk about your past for a second, she says. The room tightens again. Zac's expression hardens, just slightly. Joy continues. You've had moments, public ones, that people still associate with you. Struggles, headlines, controversies. She doesn't say the words, but everyone knows what she means. Zac nods slowly. Yeah, he says. I have. Joy watches him closely. Do you think those moments made it harder for people to accept your evolution? Zac doesn't answer right away. He looks down for a second, then back up. Yes, he says simply. The honesty lands. But they also force me to evolve, he adds. That line shifts something. Joy's expression changes, just slightly. How so? She asks. Zac leans forward again, his voice steady, grounded. Because when you hit a point where everything feels like it's falling apart, you don't have a choice, he says. You either grow or you stay stuck. The audience is completely silent now. And I chose to grow, he continues. Not for the cameras. Not for headlines. For myself. A pause. But the problem is, he adds, people don't always separate who you were at your lowest from who you are now. Joy nods slowly. That's true, she admits. There's a shift here, subtle but real. Less confrontation. More understanding. But then, Joy asks one more question. And this one changes everything. So let me ask you this, she says quietly. If you could go back, would you change any of it? The audience leans in. Zac freezes. Not visibly, but internally. You can see it in his eyes. That question doesn't just challenge his career. It challenges his entire journey. A long silence follows. Longer than any before. The cameras zoom in. Every second feels stretched. Finally, Zac speaks. No, he says. The answer surprises everyone. Even Joy. No, she repeats. Zac shakes his head. No, he says again, more firmly now. Because everything I went through, every mistake, every struggle, it made me who I am now. The audience begins to clap, slowly at first. And I'm proud of who I am now, he adds. The applause grows louder. But Zac isn't finished. He looks directly at Joy. And that should be enough. That line lands like a final note in a song that's been building this entire time. Powerful. Definitive. Unapologetic. The audience erupts, this time fully, loudly, emotionally. Some stand. Some cheer. Some just stare in awe of what they've just witnessed. Joy sits back. For the first time since this began, she doesn't respond immediately. Because there's nothing to challenge in that moment. Only something to understand. But even as the applause fills the studio, there's a feeling. A quiet, lingering sense that this isn't the end. Because outside this room, outside these cameras, this moment, it's about to explode in a way none of them are ready for. The applause doesn't just echo, it rolls. Like a wave crashing through the studio, bouncing off the walls of the view, carrying with it something far bigger than a typical interview reaction. People aren't just clapping, they're reacting, processing, choosing sides in real time. And at the center of it all sits Zac Efron, still composed, but visibly changed by what just unfolded. Across from him, Joy Behar watches in silence. For the first time in this entire exchange, she doesn't have a follow-up. The producers signal for a break. But it's too late. Something irreversible has already happened. The cameras pull back slightly, capturing the full table. The co-hosts exchanging glances, the audience still buzzing, the atmosphere charged with the kind of energy you can't script. Joy finally leans forward, her voice softer than it's been all morning. "Well," she says almost under her breath, "that was something." A faint laugh escapes from one of the co-hosts, but it's nervous, uncertain. Zac nods once. "Yeah," he replies quietly. "It was." There's no sarcasm, no edge, just truth. And somehow that feels heavier than everything that came before. The show cuts to commercial. But the moment doesn't end. It spreads. Backstage, producers scramble. Phones already lighting up, messages flooding in. Clips are being cut, captions written, thumbnails designed in real time. Because everyone knows what this is. This isn't just a segment. This is viral. Within minutes, the first clip hits social media. Zac Efron snaps on live TV. Then another. Joy Behar confronts Zac. What happens next leaves audience speechless. The views climb fast. Thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. Then millions. On Twitter, hashtags explode. Hashtag Zac Efron. Hashtag The View. Hashtag Live TV Moment. Clips of Zac's words. "You're missing the part where I'm human," are shared again and again, each time sparking new debates. Some call it brave. Others call it defensive. Some side with Zac, praising his vulnerability, his honesty, his refusal to play the polished celebrity role. Others side with Joy, arguing she asked the questions no one else would, that she held him accountable in a way most interviews don't dare to. On YouTube, reaction channels begin uploading within hours. Breakdowns. Body language analysis. Who won the Zac versus Joy debate? Comment sections explode with opinions. He finally said what needed to be said. Joy pushed too far. No, she exposed the truth. This is the realest I've ever seen Zac. Meanwhile, entertainment outlets pick it up. Headlines flood the internet. Zac Efron gets real on The View, fans divided. Joy Behar's tough questions spark viral moment. Hollywood reacts to explosive live TV exchange. Even celebrities begin weighing in. Subtle tweets, cryptic posts, quiet support, and not-so-quiet criticism. The moment has escaped the studio. It's everywhere now. Back inside, the show returns from commercial. The energy has shifted again, but this time it's calmer. Not because the tension is gone, but because something has been released. Joy turns to Zac one last time. "I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this," she says. Zac gives a small nod. "I think they already are." A few laughs ripple through the audience. But they're softer now, more reflective. Joy studies him for a moment. And then something unexpected. "I'll say this," she begins. "You showed something today we don't always see." Zac looks at her. "And what's that?" he asks. Joy pauses. "Honesty," she says. "A beat. And whether people agree with you or not, they're going to remember it." That lands differently than anything she's said before. Not a challenge. Not a critique. A recognition. Zac nods slowly. "That's all I wanted," he says. The audience applauds again, but this time, it's not explosive. It's respectful. Earned. The segment begins to wrap. The cameras shift, the music cues softly in the background. But even as the show moves forward, you can feel it. This moment isn't over. It's just beginning. Because out there, in millions of homes across countless screens, people are watching, rewatching, debating, dissecting, and forming their own conclusions. Was Zac right? Was Joy too harsh? Or was this exactly what live television is supposed to be? Unfiltered. Uncomfortable. Real. The screen fades slightly as the episode nears its end, but the impact lingers. And now it shifts to you. What do you think? Was Zac Efron justified in standing his ground? Or did Joy Behar push the conversation where it needed to go? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this debate is far from over. And if you want more moments like this, raw, dramatic, unforgettable, make sure you subscribe to Talk Battles, hit that like button, and stay tuned. Because the next story might be even bigger.